Welcome back, fight fans, to another episode of Budge MMA. I am the Kid, and I am here to talk about the O'Malley paradox and the UFC's lack of star power. It is the eve of Carlos Prates versus Jack Della Maddalena, and this will be my second upload of the day. You probably saw our predictions video with the coach a little bit earlier in the day, and tonight I want to talk about this paradox and go over some points as to why I think the UFC lacks star power, how it could have recovered a little bit better from the golden age and kind of the post-Conor McGregor era where you had stars such as Chael Sonnen and Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor, these people that were gluing you to your screen, and how they can transition a little bit better and what they've done negatively in terms of pushing stars on us in the social media age, trying to get guys from different regions such as Asia and the Latin American countries where they have a big fan support base and pushing them towards the top of the sport, as well as long layoffs and a couple of other factors. So guys, let's get right into this here. I think social media superstars has become the new norm. We've seen guys get pushed to the top, guys with bigger social media followings. I mean, just recently, Peyton Talbot was announced to fight Umar Nurmagomedov. That's a 13 versus 2 matchup. We saw something super similar in the guy in the picture here. Sean O'Malley got his first #1 contender fight when he was ranked 12 or 13 against Piotr Jan in a razor-thin fight that I thought he lost. So for me, I think social media is a tool for the UFC. I think it's a tool for all major sports. I think there are a lot of guys who are big draws in this sport, and especially to the more casual audience, that's something that can be weaponized in terms of the popularity of the sport. But I think merit-based fights have gone away, and I think you're starting to see more of the popular guys get the bigger shots. I mean, you see Ayman Zahabi versus Sean O'Malley on this White House card just because they want the exposure there. Some of these guys that have the bigger draw get these bigger opportunities, and that's not how you push a star up the sport. It has to be a little bit more natural, and especially in the case of Sean O'Malley, who we see here, I think that's something that has really been detrimental in his kind of rise to be a star, but I just don't think he has what it takes to be the prototypical star. You need the trash talk, you need the charisma, and Sean O'Malley just doesn't have that. He has the skills. I think he's an incredible fighter. I think his stand-up is some of the best in the sport, but is he a great trash talker? No, he's awkward on the mic. Some of his skits on his Instagram are super awkward and almost cringeworthy, and I think this guy could be a star if it was a little bit more authentic, but we've pushed him to the top so hard. I mean, you see these guys all the time. They want them to be stars on the mic, so they schedule them in press conferences. What great moment has Sean O'Malley had on the mic? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I can name 20 Conor McGregor moments off the top of my head, 15 Chael Sonnen moments. There's been so many elite moments from these guys who are really charismatic and are stars of the sport in terms of the mic. And let me get this straight. You don't have to be great on the mic to be a superstar. Charles Oliveira does not even speak English, and he's one of the biggest stars in the sport. Alex Pereira knows a couple words in English, one of the biggest stars in the sport. But he's also not forced into these mic moments where he has to feel inauthentic. And I think that's where Sean O'Malley has kind of faltered in his career, is that we want him to be this big charismatic guy who talks a lot of shit, and he just never is. He never delivers on the mic. He has great performances in the octagon. I am not a Sean O'Malley hater. In fact, I'm a fan. But I think his ascent to stardom should have been based more around the highlight reel KOs. He'd almost be better off if he was Brazilian or Portuguese or somewhere that doesn't speak English, so that he could just be this guy who's a silent type and an assassin on the feet. But since he's this guy who has a little bit bigger of a social media following, he's got the tattoos, he's friends with 6ix9ine, he has the rainbow hair, he has an open relationship. Because let's be real, that was part of his mystique and stardom. I think because of that, we expect him to be this guy who's elite on the mic. He's had a couple moments with Snoop Dogg and things of that nature. And has there really been a great mic moment? Not really. And for me, that completely embodies where the UFC is trending, the power slap era, the Paramount Plus era, where they'd rather have a guy who can generate a 10-second clip that goes viral than a guy who's great on the mic throughout a press conference, or a guy who's great on the mic that can handle the media. Sean O'Malley's not great on the mic. He's an incredible fighter. We've seen this over and over again. They've wanted Peyton Talbot to deliver moments on the mic. They've wanted these guys, Bo Nickel, to deliver moments on the mic. These guys are great fighters. They're not necessarily big personalities, and they're not necessarily guys who are going to be elite on the mic. And I think we need to do away with the star that needs the push as far as the mic and putting these guys in positions where they're not comfortable. Because let's face it, Sean O'Malley is an incredible striker. He's an incredible fighter. He's an ex-champ, but he is not a promotable character in terms of mic skills. And I think the UFC needs to go away with that. Moving on to my next point as to why the UFC lacks stardom. Long layoffs. I think this could be the primary point in this argument. As you can see, Khamzat Chimaev is one of the prime culprits. I think, especially to an American audience, we live in an era where TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels are the biggest thing on social media, 10 to 15 second increments, so that their small attention span can be captured. I mean, even this video, I'm sure people are not going to watch it past the first 30 seconds because their attention span cannot handle a long form of media. I think it's the same with these fighters. When Khamzat first came up, I was so endeared to his style because he had the 2 fights in the 10 days, and that was unheard of. You had never heard of a guy taking 2 fights in 10 days, and he broke the record. And this guy had all this mystique. And now he fights once every year and a half, every 2 years. He's a beast. He's an incredible fighter. He's pound for pound top 5. But you can't really endear yourself to a worldwide, let alone an American audience, if you don't fight often enough. It's almost like these guys have an incredible performance. Take Ethan Ewing, for example. He has an incredible performance. He's on the come up. He's outside the top 15. But if this guy doesn't fight for another 9 months, that hype is slowly dwindling down. And that's not the worst thing for a lot of these guys' careers. Don't get me wrong. Peyton Talbot got beat by Raoni Barcelos and went back to the drawing board and actually got better. Had a huge win against Henry Cejudo. But in terms of these guys building their careers as prospects and building their careers as stars, why do you think Marat became such a big star? It's not like he has a crazy fan-friendly style or a great mic personality, but he fought all the time. Alex Pereira, same thing, kept delivering performances and saving events. If you have these longer layoffs, you have less time to endear yourself to the fans. The fans get restless. They start turning on you. You see it a lot with the Chimaev fan base. This guy never fights. So I think that's something where these fighters need to kind of take into consideration. You can't become a big star if you're pulling out of fights. You can't become a big star if you're not fighting often. Look at Conor McGregor, prime example. Took short notice opponents, took on Nate Diaz twice up 2 weight classes. I mean, the Aldo fight dropped through and he was fine fighting Chad Mendes just to get back on a pay-per-view. That is gritty as hell, man. And he wanted to endear himself to the American audience and the worldwide audience. And that's exactly what happened. So for me, if you're going to be a star in this game, long layoffs cannot be a thing. Third point I want to make is the UFC forcing international superstars on the mainstream audience. And the man in the picture here, I'm actually a big fan of. Kai Asakura is the prime culprit and the prime example of this point here. I think Dana is becoming less and less a part of the UFC brass, and the new UFC management loves to take advantage of an international star. Japan's a huge market. Let's face it. If they could have gotten Kai Asakura versus Alexandre Pantoja to go the way they wanted, and Pantoja could have lost that belt to Kai Asakura, that is a huge market that just opened up in Japan. I mean, just imagine if the UFC could get a Filipino superstar or a world champ, similar to Manny Pacquiao in boxing. Their support for their guys or their women are just insane. You look at Alex Ayala in tennis, or like I said, Manny Pacquiao in boxing. These guys have a different level of support in other countries. Americans, we don't really back our guy. We love to claim that we have a ton of national pride, but do we really? Let's get real. I mean, nobody's backing Aljamain Sterling when he was fighting against Piotr Jan. Like, we just don't really have that. But if you have a guy from another country, like when Yair Rodriguez was fighting for the interim belt, and that's another point I want to make. Why has Yair Rodriguez gotten so many opportunities? Well, because he has the Mexican pride behind him in terms of fan base. He's got a huge fan base in terms of the Latin community there. Same thing with Brandon Moreno. Not to say he's not an elite fighter, but they would love to have him as far as an ambassador for Mexico. It's a huge fan base. They can open up that gym in Mexico as far as the UFC PI. And I think that's something that's super valuable to them, is having these champions from different walks of life, from different countries. I think Alexa Grasso was an asset for them. Brandon Moreno was an asset for them. Weili Zhang was an asset for them. So they love to give these opportunities to people in regions that they think can be kind of an asset for them, and they can take these people to different countries, and I don't blame them for that. I think they're also trying to replicate something in terms of the Conor McGregor theory, where if Conor McGregor didn't have an accent, would he have been as huge as he was? I think Americans are so drawn to that kind of mystique of an accent, and it's hilarious that he talks the way that he does. I think they're trying to replicate that in some way, shape, or form, especially with this man, Kaya Sakura. I mean, this title shot was super unwarranted. Don't get me wrong. I know it was a very shallow division at 125, and there weren't many up-and-comers. But how do you throw in a guy who wasn't even the champion in Ryzen at the time into one of the most dominant champions in the sport in Alexandre Pantoja? Like I said, I really like Kaya Sakura, but I think they're trying to replicate that star and shoot him straight to the top. The more opportunities they give these guys against top level fighters and top level ranked opposition, the more than likely they are going to take that shot and be in the rankings, and then they can give them an even bigger fight. I mean, I think that's why they wanted Aaron Pico to fight Movsar Evloev off the bat and try to be that number one contender, just so they can get fresh blood. But they're taking too many chances. I think moving Bo Nickel up the line, not an international star, but just in terms of going up the rankings too quick because they're a little bit of a personality or they're a little bit of a star in another sport or another promotion. I think they take a lot of chances with these guys when in reality it should just be a natural kind of rung by rung thing and it should be more merit based. But I digress. I think this is something that the UFC faces every day, every event being put together. And this moves me into my last point, which is the lack of rivalries. I mean, was it really a rivalry between Figueiredo and Moreno? They were great fights. Was there a lot of love lost? Not really. I mean, they were kind of buddy-buddy after each fight, other than when Figueiredo called him a monkey or vice versa. I don't remember what it was. But they fought 4 times, and they were great fights each time, but there was no bad blood. We haven't seen bad blood since really McGregor versus Khabib, which is pictured on the screen here. And I think that has also made the UFC lose a lot of its luster, especially in terms of star power. I mean, we used to have guys go at it in the press conferences. We used to have guys go at it. I mean, throwing dollies at a bus with Conor. And that just added to the mystique, man. Was it dumb as hell at times? Absolutely. I mean, the press conferences, the Nate Diaz and Conor press conferences, there was a lot of stupidity there, but it was also entertaining as all hell. We've never seen a press conference like that since those guys used to duke it out and talk shit to each other. I think that's a main thing as far as superstars. For me, I look at tennis because I'm such a big fan there, and the kind of mystique and lore of the 2 champions in tennis right now, which are Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, have been built by them playing each other and them getting to the pinnacle with each other. So I think superstardom can be pushed by 2 guys. You can meet at the pinnacle and that can raise your stock even more. And to me, there are no guys that can bink off each other and raise their star. I mean, we saw it a little bit with Pereira and Adesanya, but that was kind of a one-sided beef. Great fights, don't get me wrong, incredible fights, but they kind of rose each other's stock, which was awesome. But have we really seen that again? I mean, there's not a lot of bad blood. It's kind of more of a business. Guys are DMing each other now because it's the social media age and saying, hey, you want to fight? Let's have a great fight. And that's why these fights are becoming glorified sparring sessions, because they're just trying to get each other paid, which is great. I mean, I don't fault the fighters for that. But at the end of the day, this is a gladiator sport, and we want to see gladiator shit in the octagon and outside of the octagon as well. And point blank period, we just haven't seen that. I think that's led to a lack of superstars both inside the cage and outside the cage. Don't get me wrong. I think the level of fighter, champions, top 15, even outside the top 15, is higher than it's ever been. Skill for skill, I mean, the champions are incredible. Piotr Jan, Volkanovski, Topuria, Islam Makhachev, Hamzat Chimaev. These guys are incredible. I'm not going to throw Carlos Oldberg in there or Josh Van. But these guys are incredible. Skill for skill, they're some of the most complete fighters that the UFC has ever seen. But bad blood-wise, shit talk-wise, commentary-wise, press conference-wise, everything on the mic wise, no, it's horrible. The UFC has never been in a worse place. I think that's contributed to some of the downfall of the UFC, and I think that's contributed to kind of the lackluster nature of what the UFC has been as of late. It's been carried by some of its bigger figures, as Alex Pereira and guys like that. But other than that, what have the UFC fans had to look forward to? The prospect of John Jones coming back to fight Aspinall or Pereira, Islam never fighting Ilia Topuria in a 1-versus-2 pound-for-pound matchup. It's all speculation. The UFC is thriving off of speculation, the speculation that Conor may come back. It's just thriving on their former stars and the speculation that they may come back. And for me, I think there's a lot better ways to kind of like make these stars. And making the stars is not the proper term. I think letting these stars come to fruition instead of pushing them there is the smartest idea. Will we ever see a Conor McGregor again? Probably not. But are there better ways to find superstars and foster these superstars' careers so that they can become a little bit more endearing to the audience and loved by the audience? Absolutely. That's all from me. I'm the kid. We are Budge MMA, and I'm out.